Amy from Doodle Dog Designs. Today I'm going to make some of these Redware style Christmas ornaments. To do this I'm going to use some air dry clay. I have used this previously for making little sheep. And I store it in a Ziploc bag to keep it from drying out. I'm going to be doing this on a piece of wax paper. You could use wax paper or parchment paper just to keep my surface clean because this clay is kind of messy. I'm just going to scoop out enough clay, what I think I will use to make one ornament, and then close the bag back up. Again, since this is air dry clay, you don't want to expose it to the air longer than necessary, where it will dry out. Excuse my fingers, I've just finished dyeing some wool yarn today and I got a little bit of the dye on my hands. So I'm going to just flatten out my chunk of clay, and then I have two skewers that I'm going to put on either side, and they're going to act as my thickness guide. When I get done then, my plate will be about the thickness of one of these skewers. So you could use something on either side to make it whatever thickness you want. And then I'm going to use a rolling pin. I'm just going to roll it out like you would cookie dough. Then I looked around the house for something that I could use to cut circles with, and I have this cookie cutter, and it is about 2 3/4 inches in diameter. So I'm going to use it and just cut it out like I would a cookie. I want to make a hole in it for adding a string for hanging, so I'm going to do that first. I'm just using another skewer, a wooden skewer, poke a hole through it. Then you want to find something that's rounded, that's about the same size. I found this old doorknob, and so I'm just going to take my ornament and place it upside down on the doorknob and mold it to the doorknob, because I want my ornament to just have a little bit of a round shape to it. And then I'm going to leave that on there while I work on cutting out the next ornament. So I'll take the scraps from the last one and add in some more clay. And again, what these are going to do, keep the clay from getting too thin in any area. It will hold the rolling pin up to that level so the clay doesn't get any thinner. I do have a bowl of water here that I can use to kind of smooth out the edges if I need to. You want to use the water very sparingly because it will take longer to dry if you add too much water, but it can be a really good way to smooth things out while you're working on them. So now I'm going to take this first one off and I'm going to leave it just like this and set it aside to dry. And then I'll go ahead and I'll stick this next one on the doorknob. Again, you could use anything that you have that's rounded, that's about the same size. I'm going to now let these dry. It will probably take at least 24 hours, maybe longer. These are dry now, and I did turn them over after about 12 hours so they could fully dry on the opposite side. I'm going to take a little piece of fine sandpaper, 180 grit, and smooth out the rough places on these before I paint. Especially concerned with getting the edges smooth and then the area where I poked the hole. I'm going to then wipe all of the dust off of each one and make sure that they are smooth like I want them to be. I would recommend, if you want a certain number of these, to make a few extra just in case something breaks or doesn't quite turn out like you want. This one here that I've created, the bowl is a little bit wonky shaped there. I'm still going to go ahead and paint it though and see how it turns out. Now I'm going to paint these with a folk art toasted terracotta. It really mimics the Redware color very well. I'm just going to paint one side and then let it dry before turning it over to paint the other side. I am going to go ahead and paint the edges when I do the top sides, the front. I'm going to use a tiny brush here to get in the hole and get that painted also. The first coat of paint has dried and it looks like it definitely needs a second coat of paint on the front, so I'm going to do that now. I did an image search online for antique redware plates to look for some inspiration for designs to paint on my ornaments. And then I took the same cookie cutter that I had used to cut the ornaments out, and I drew around it on a piece of paper. And then I penciled in some design ideas for the ornaments so that I have some ideas of what to paint before I start painting. I'm going to use Folk Art Moon Yellow craft paint. Some of my designs that I've come up with have polka dots, so I want to use the end of a paintbrush to make the polka dots. And then I'm going to use a thin, fairly stiff paintbrush to paint the lines. And I am going to do a little experimenting before I get started to make sure that this paintbrush works well painting the lines like I want to look. I think I'm just going to do it right here on the paper just to make sure that this paintbrush will make the thin lines like I want. That one's not bad, but I'm going to try it with another brush. I think I like this brush better. Now, if you want to, you could use some transfer paper and transfer the designs onto the ornaments. I'm just going to use this as a guide and lightly sketch my designs onto the ornaments. Now, if you notice when you're doing a search for the Redware plates that a lot of them look like they've been hand painted like this. They're not at all perfect. They're just all very unique and primitive looking. After these are completely dry, I'm going to take them outside and put a coat of a matte clear protectant spray. Before I sprayed them, I noticed that there were a couple of spots where I could see the pencil markings, so I took an eraser to that and was able to get the pencil marks off, and then I cleaned that good, and then I sprayed on the front and then let it dry and then sprayed the backs. I'm going to use some thin jute as hangers. I'm going to cut a piece 10 inches long and just thread it through the hole, and then I will tie a knot up here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.